I've been spending about maybe the better half of 2 days thinking about what I wanted to say about this. And being an abridger and at the same time a fan of TeamFourStar and more particularly Dragon Ball Z Abridged, I was I don't know how to put this. Ultimately, when I first got news that Dragon Ball Z Abridged had been officially canceled, I saw it maybe 3 days ago on a YouTube post, not on the video itself, but the Patreon post that was made about 3 or 4 days ago. I don't remember. I was I don't know. I was somewhat unsurprised. I'm not gonna lie. I was half expecting something like this to show up at some point in time. But at the same time, I was a little caught off guard, as I'm sure a lot of people were. This is a very interesting topic to discuss about because people outside of the abridging community do not know this, but a lot of people end up canceling an abridged series of theirs due to either lack of interest, lack of time, combination of both, or it's just not worth the effort because of how much effort was being put into it without any compensation for that effort aside from views and maybe Patreon, but Patreon technically couldn't fund for your abridged series. People don't realize that ultimately when an abridged channel does a Patreon, it is to pay for certain things like editing and in-house production work, but you really couldn't spend that money going into an abridgment to make more of the abridgment. You had to spend it on the production work itself. So that was another reason that a lot of abridgments had been canceled. But this is the first time an abridged series of this scope and of this magnitude and with this much viewership had ever really been canceled. Because it's the biggest one. It is the biggest by far. Whether or not it was the best is up for debate because of sheer quality. There are many more abridgments today that you could think of that easily, not, I wouldn't say easily, but that are comparable, or if not, just a little bit better than Dragon Ball Z Abridged. But this was the first time something as successful as Dragon Ball Z Abridged had just been dropped. And I wouldn't even say dropped. I think it was an appropriate stopping point for the series. I've been kind of putting this conversation like off track from what I think the original intention was. When I saw the post that Dragon Ball Z Abridged was ended, uh, like I said, I wasn't surprised, but I was caught a little off guard. Um, and saying as an abridger and as a fan, that was my genuine feeling towards seeing it, because I know how abridging is, and I know how things just have to stop once you've hit like burnout for a number of reasons. In their case, you know, there were a lot of things. I saw I just got finished watching their video, and they went through a bunch of different reasons as to why they had ultimately stopped making the show. But I can't help but feel, I don't know, just disheartened. Like, I understand ultimately that these things just have to come to an end at some point, especially a show like Dragon Ball Z Abridged, or just any abridgment in general that has received lots of like copyright strikes and can't afford to sustain itself. But I don't know. It just feels different, you know? Like, there will never be another show, another abridgment rather, quite like Dragon Ball Z Abridged. I'm not talking about like sheer quality, mind you. I'm talking about the sheer success that it's had throughout the years. There's nothing that really comes close. You might argue that Something Witty Entertainment's Sword Art Online abridgment is a fair contender, but the reality of it is, like, you might compare the quality, sure, but like, there was a comment made where Kotaku had marked the end of Dragon Ball Z abridgment. I don't think you'll get a Kotaku article on Sword Art Online abridged. The sheer magnitude that Dragon Ball Z abridged carries throughout the internet is a testament to its success. The fact that people like me are making this kind of like video or message to them, it just says a lot to how much support that it got and how much we really cared about the series. Granted, I never thought it was the best product. I'm sure a lot of people thought it wasn't. I'm sure that a lot of people thought there was definitely a lot of other stuff out there, but by God, it was by far the biggest and the most influential. Growing up, or rather not growing up, but my journey as an abridger ultimately started on, I think it was episode 16 of Dragon Ball Z Abridged. When I first laid my eyes on that piece of content, on that video rather, I remember being just finding it exhilarating and just so damn funny and so captivating. This was the episode where I think I might be misremembering, but I think this was the episode where Vegeta had the first shot was of Vegeta flying into a village, and the Namekians being so naive and so welcoming to Vegeta that they announced where their Dragon Ball was, and I just find it like one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. Looking back on it, I think a lot of their old content definitely doesn't hold up, but it when you go through and watch the progress that has been made, you see how much of it has actually allowed them to kind of just evolve as writers. Lanny, Taka, and Kaiser, as writers, editors, voice actors, you name it. Um, like, you'll hear, if you're in the abridging community, you'll hear that a lot of people were able to improve because of abridging. And it's funny because you wouldn't think of it, but it does happen. And having something like that is just it it helps mark your life in a territory that if you weren't planning on going into, you definitely think twice about because of abridging. And whether that be of like for voice acting, for writing, for directing or editing. And a bridge project definitely like Dragon Ball Z Abridged will help improve or change what you were trying to go for in life. And I'm very happy on that front that it's made them better, and you can see it as time went on. I think Dragon Ball Z Abridged episode 60 was very clearly a hallmark of like just greatness. I think definitely it's their best piece of content by far. And it stands out as one of the best pieces of abridging content, I think, for a while. And it'll continue to stay that way. I think saying a few short words would be rather superfluous to how I feel about this whole situation. Because everyone's going to say very similar things, even similar to what I'm saying now, even though it's been like quite a bit. But I felt like what I wanted to say about TeamFourStar and Dragon Ball Z Abridged as a whole cannot really fit in like a few seconds. So I don't know. This is a lot. I and it's not normally what I would go about saying, but goddamn, I'm gonna miss Dragon Ball Z Abridged. I know that TeamFourStar will continue down their path, trying to make more content, trying to do what they love to do in producing content, and I hope them the best on their way. Um, and I can't say that I've been really supporting TeamFourStar because I hadn't really contributed to their Patreon or like I'd seen a few Twitch streams, but like I haven't been a regular. I haven't subscribed. I've subscribed to the channel, but the YouTube channel rather. But other than that, I haven't really gone out of my way to support them in anything other than that. And that was because I was so attached to Dragon Ball Z Abridged. I've tried liking a lot of their content. I think that Final Fantasy VII stands on its own, but I haven't really found the connection that I did with it as I do with Dragon Ball Z Abridged. And my support for it, despite the fact that like I do hope them the best, my support really stood with Dragon Ball Z Abridged. And while I'll continue to lurk around, see what content they bring, because they are standing on their own as their own personalities now. Each member of TeamFourStar individually. I can't bring myself to have that sort of attachment that I had with Dragon Ball Z Abridged with anything else on their channel. But I do definitely wish them well, and will support whatever decision they make along the way. This is, I guess, in the end, this is sort of a love letter to Dragon Ball Z Abridged, and because it helped me grow, not just as an abridger, as something that I wanted to do on the internet, but as kind of a person. Kind of helped me warp my values and expectations, because without TeamFourStar, there wouldn't have been this huge abridging community that was reinvigorated because of the event TIBA, Tenkaichi Iron Man Budokai Abridgeathon. It was such an amazing event that I got to meet a lot of people that I don't think I ever would have without it. And that kind of goes to show just, it's not about Dragon Ball Z Abridged. I love TeamFourStar, but this all stemmed because of their love of abridging and their love of Dragon Ball, and they wanted to kind of push the envelope of abridging itself. They wanted to breathe life into it. And I'm very thankful for that. And it all somehow directly stems into Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Or not directly, but rather indirectly, because these people individually, at TeamFourStar, Lord Moonstone, Kirin, Kaiser Neko, Takahata, Lokuribo, Yamato SFX, yeah, I'm sorry. I know I'm forgetting. I know I'm forgetting the fifth judge, but you guys know what I mean. If without them, and that event, I probably wouldn't be as appreciative of the abridging community as I am now. I probably would have been stuck on my own devices, eventually had quit abridging. But I'm very happy, because abridging is something that I like to do, despite the constant copyright issues going on with just making a video, and not being able to earn anything off of it is not so much important to me, but it would definitely further inspire some passion, not just in me, but I feel in other abridgers as well. But that's besides the point. I feel without Dragon Ball Z Abridged, I wouldn't be here doing what I like doing on the internet and enjoying content creation and just being a creative in general. Overall, to me, Dragon Ball Z Abridged meant a lot. Meant a lot about what I do now. Not necessarily in real life, but I would love to certainly get there. That's my ultimate goal. So, in a way, it helped me do what I want to do. And I'm forever grateful about it. I'm forever grateful, not just with Dragon Ball Z Abridged, but with TeamFourStar as a whole, and I can't forget that. And that's all I can really say about that. I'm gonna miss Dragon Ball Z Abridged, as I'm certain that a lot of you people are as well. But it's time to move on, and to you guys at TeamFourStar, I wish you luck in your future endeavors. I hope you guys the best. I love you all. And thank you. Just thank you for what, 10 years? 10 plus years of entertainment and joy and laughter and abridging. It means a lot. So, thank you guys.